What's up, guys? Welcome back to Simply FPL. We've got a slightly longer video today. Probably my first serious video of the season rather than just another random team reveal. I've picked a player from every team in the Premier League this season. And yeah, we're going to have a look at the ones to kind of keep an eye on. So I've not got, I think I maybe have one or two of these in my actual team. So the majority of these are players that I'm not currently considering for game week 1. But they're all players that I think potentially could be high scorers this season. Some of them are quite obvious, some of them not so much. So yeah, we're going to go through these, I guess in alphabetical order based on the teams they play. This video took me forever to put together in terms of the slides this morning. So I'm going to film this first take, no pauses. So if we mess up towards the end, tough. I'm just going to keep going with it. So look, if feel free to skip to the teams you're interested in listening to. You don't have to watch every single one if you don't want. But yeah, let's just get cracking, shall we? So first team, Arsenal, as I said, alphabetically. Now, Nicolas Pépé. So look, the obvious ones are the Sakas, the Smith Rowes, maybe the Aubameyangs. But I think Nicolas Pépé's maybe been a bit overlooked. To be honest, quite a lot of these players we're going to go through have been overlooked, in my opinion. So Pépé, he had a fairly poor start to last season. Now, I mean, his price has decreased dramatically, which is why we're even considering him. He's now 7.5 million. Midfielder. Now, he did get 114 points last season, which by itself is not massive, but he was dropped for quite a lot of it. And most of those points came at the back end of last season. So I'd be hopeful that starting this season, if he can find his place in the team out on that right wing, his form, if it continues like it did at the back of last season, they've got some really good fixtures from game week 4 to game week 11, as you can see there. He got 10 goals and 3 assists. As I say, he only played 1,606 minutes, so his points per minute was actually quite good. Now, a lot of these players, like the likes of Mo Salah, the Harry Kanes, they're generally pushing 3,000 minutes. So, I mean, if you average out Pepe's points last season, I mean, that's a 200-point season. If you just go for the average. So, I mean, 7.5 million. If Arsenal can have even a semi-decent season, potentially worth the punt. So, yeah, not one I'm planning on getting from game week 1 to game week 3, but I could easily see myself putting him in for game week 4 and just holding him for those 8 game weeks. Number 2, Buendia. Now, the toughest bit for Aston Villa this season is they do not have a single kind of part of the season where they've got a good run of like 5, 6, 7, 8 game weeks. The best run they've probably got is from game week 1 to game week 3. So every couple of game weeks throughout the entirety of the season, they've got a red or a purple fixture. So for holding Villa players en masse like you could last season, it's very hard to do. So my potential idea is to maybe get Buendia in just for game week 1, game week 2, game week 3. Maybe swap him out for a Pepe as we move into game week 4. So I'm still trying to work out the exact mechanics of my team. So I've got a good idea of who I'll have in the first 15, but then trying to plan which players to take out when and when to use transfers. I've not quite gone into that just yet, but the Buendia to Pepe, for instance, is a potentially good move. Now, just on Buendia, so he didn't play in the Premier League last season. Obviously, he was in the Championship. Played pretty much every game. He got 15 goals and 17 assists. Now, that is like one of the best returns in terms of attacking contribution in the Championship last season. And he's going to be playing in an Aston Villa team which can be quite creative at times. Now, a lot of this does depend on whether or not Jack Grealish stays. So, I mean, only today we're just seeing that City have launched a £100 million bid for him. So there is a good chance Grealish leaves, but if Grealish does stay, you could argue Buendia is going to get a lot more chances, a lot more involvement. But if he leaves, you could also argue that Buendia might be one of the main men, one of the guys that they're always looking to give the ball to. So you can kind of find merit to get him regardless. So 6.5 million, potentially worth a punt at the start of the season. Definitely one I'm considering getting. Ivan Toney then. So look, there's probably other players in Brentford worth talking about, but I'm not going to pretend. I didn't watch much Championship football last season. I watched almost zero. So I've just kind of gone based on the stats. And you can't really ignore Toney's stats. And also, Brentford, they're they've had a few really good players come out of their squad. So, I mean, Watkins, for instance, he was a Brentford player, straight into Aston Villa, first season in the Premier League, had a fairly good season. Ivan Toney, he absolutely lit up the Championship last season, 31 goals. And even with that, 10 assists. So a lot of the time you'll see players hit the 30 club in terms of goals and they've got 1 or 2 assists, but it's just not the case with him. He played pretty much every minute, so 3,862 minutes. That's like he's almost injury proof. The guy's there to play. 6.5 million. So look, he could have easily have been a 7.58 million pound player. And Brentford, they're a very attacking team. And what I really like is their first 8 fixtures. So look, Everton and Leicester are obviously red fixtures, but I mean they're 2 clubs that have conceded quite a lot of goals in the last year. So I'm strongly considering having Toney in for the first 8 game weeks. It would be a punt in the sense that you can never really tell players that haven't played in the Premier League before, but he's also an enabler. So if we're spending 6.5 million on a striker, we can spend more money elsewhere. So for me, he could potentially be one of the higher owned players at the start of the season, and I think his stats probably do justify it. Tariq Lamptey. So looking at his stats from last season, they're not too impressive, right? 2 clean sheets, 1 goal, 3 assists. But he barely played 900 minutes, so barely played a quarter of the season. Now, if we, again, multiply out his minutes and just keep the stats he hit, he's looking at 150 point season. And to be honest, Brighton underperformed on their XG and their XGC. So if Brighton can just score the expected goals that they're supposed to get and then only concede what they're expected to concede based on the algorithms and the stats of the XG and the XGC, Tariq Lamptey should have a good season. Now, again, he's quite injury prone. Like, he's currently injured as we speak, so I don't even know if he's going to begin the season. But if he can find a run of games, we saw how attacking he was. He was arguably the most attacking wing-back last season in the minutes we've seen him play. So a lot does ride on whether or not he's going to be playing this many games this season. But if he does, and certainly if he's fit from game week 1, game week 2, Brighton do have a few good fixtures at that beginning. So he's a 4.5 million pound defender. Again, another enabler. We're all going to have at least 1 or 2 4.5, 4.0 million pound defenders. And he's definitely one I consider, especially if you're not taking Sanchez in goal. I think Brighton, they're so tight defensively. You want to have at least 1 asset from their team. And Lamptey could be one of them. Matt Lowton. So I'll be honest, it was a struggle to pick someone from Burnley. I had Lowton last season for the back end. Funnily enough, I put him in my team the week he ended up scoring. Everyone was joking that everyone's put him in. I think it was a double game week. I can't quite remember. And he never scores. But then that game, he never got out of the opposition half. So in terms of goals and assists, he's probably not going to get many. But 10 clean sheets. Burnley, they didn't have a great season last season. And he still got over 100 points. Nailed on to play. So if you're looking for a 4.5 million pound defender, he's one to consider. And also, I'm even in the way of their fixtures. So Brighton's first half of the season, they've pretty much, can you kind of see? They've only got 3 red fixtures. They've managed to get 15 green or grey fixtures. Like, it's a lot of home ties, a lot of away ties against the easier teams to play. The last 18 fixtures, so after Christmas, their fixtures, the worst I've ever seen in FPL. It's just nothing but red and grey pretty much. They get most of their green fixtures out of the way before Christmas. So if you're looking for a set and forget 4.5 million pound defender, probably not going to do too badly with Matthew Lowton. Now, some of the other Burnley players in defence are 5 million pounds. So you're saving 0.5 million. He's nailed on to play. Burnley, they didn't have a great season last season relative to previous seasons, but if they can find that form and become quite tough to break down this season, Lowton could be getting up a few points. So in the interest of openness, I'm probably not going to get him myself, but we had to put down a Burnley player, and there he is. Kal Havertz. Wasn't even really considering him until the Euros. He was electric. I just remember that shot he took against England that Pickford made the really good save. It's just the velocity behind the shot. I mean, it was a good save, but like that was an absolute pinger, and he just seems to be full of confidence. So he's coming back into a Chelsea team that did have an okay end of last season. Havertz also had an okay end to the season as well. Now, he only got 4 goals and 6 assists. Quite disappointing on the surface, but he only played 1,500 minutes. So, I mean, he was dropped quite a lot. There was a good bit of rotation. So, a lot of this, again, similar to other players we spoke about, does depend on whether or not he's going to be nailed to play. I would suspect he probably will be nailed to play. And he could be playing a fairly attacking role. So, specifically game week 7 to game week 12, we're going to want to have a Chelsea attacker in there somewhere. I mean, most people are not going to want Werner. So, Kai Havertz could be that guy. 8.5 million. Worth a potential punt, and definitely one to keep an eye out for. If I had to bet on anyone to have a potentially really good season, ones we're going to speak about in this video, it would be Kai Havertz. If he just had an okay season for the sort of player he is, he could be pushing 200 points. It's definitely not an exaggeration. So yeah, we'll keep an eye out for him. Probably won't have him for game week 1, but it's mainly just because Chelsea don't have the easiest start. But yeah, by game week 7, could be in there. Crystal Palace, to be honest, again, similar to Burnley, just had to pick a player. Eze, I mean, they don't have too many great runs of fixtures, so you're probably not going to want to load up on Palace anyway. But if you have £6 million to spend around game week 11 and you need to bring someone in midfield, there we go. Wolves, Burnley, Villa, Leeds, get him in, get him out. 6 million, got 4 goals and 8 assists last season. He looked really good. I mean, he kind of outshone Zaha at times. I think he might have even outscored him last season in terms of FPL points. So he's pretty much nailed on to play. I mean, Palace could have a really bad season, so it's not even a tip. But if you are looking for a Palace player specifically for those game weeks, you potentially go for Eze. Not much more to be said about that. Luca Digne. So this was a toss-up between Digne and Godfrey, because I kind of think Digne's, everyone's talking about him and not so many people talking about Godfrey. But to be honest, I think Digne's value, he couldn't not make this video. Now, specific to game week 19 to 26, Everton do have a fairly okay start to the season. So myself and I guess most people watching this probably do have their eyes on the likes of Digne or Calvert-Lewin. For me, once game week 19 comes, I mean, most of us will be using our wildcard maybe around then anyway. You're going to want to load up on Everton defenders, especially with Benitez at the helm. Defensive manager against these teams. A lot of them don't score many goals. 5.5 million, 9 assists last season for a win-back is just phenomenal. And a lot of that, I mean, Everton didn't have a great season. Like, once the likes of James Rodriguez, Doucouré, Alan all got injured, Luca Digne's goal contributions dried up. I mean, the first 10 games of the season, he was one of the top scoring players. It was really good as an Everton fan to watch. But then obviously that died down towards the end. So look, he's had a price decrease, which I think is ridiculous. I know he only got 120 points, which in its own right is quite good for a defender. But still, I mean, he's got potential to be one of the top scoring defenders. And yeah, 5.5 million. He's worth more than just a punt. I think a lot of people are going to get him in and just leave him for the season. I'm currently thinking about that myself. I mean, Everton, even with a bad season, still got 9 clean sheets. So yeah, there's a lot of potential there with Luca Digne. And the one thing I say is he didn't score a single goal last season, mainly because of how they were set up with James Rodriguez always looking for Digne on the left. Now, it's kind of been documented this last week that Benitez is trying to get rid of James Rodriguez. Has pretty much told him that he's got no future in that team. He doesn't really suit the way Benitez plays. So if James Rodriguez disappears, we could see Luca Digne cutting in a lot more, which would surely mean he'll get a lot more shots. With a lot more shots, there's going to come some goals, and also he's likely to be on a lot more free kicks as well. So a few kind of things that being an Everton fan I've kind of noticed is more reasons why, again, you might consider a Luca Digne. Jack Harrison. So look, a lot of people have been disagreeing that they should go for Harrison over Rafinha. I'm okay with that. Personally, I'm considering getting both of them. Now, Harrison, 6 million. I think he outscored Rafinha last season by a couple of points. I think he just topped him. He got more minutes, so he is more nailed on than Rafinha. Rafinha was really kind of rotated a lot with the forwards, whereas Harrison kind of has that spot in midfield by himself. So, look, 8 goals, 10 assists, and he's still only 6 million. I'm just surprised that Harrison wasn't around the 7.5 and Rafinha wasn't around the 7.5. So, potential bargains there. 160 points. That's... I mean, I think he might have outscored Kevin De Bruyne last season. I might need to fact check that. I'm doing this video without any notes. I just feel that I think De Bruyne got in the 150 point mark. and he's twice the price. So yeah, I'm almost certainly going to have Jack Harrison in my team from day one, probably throughout the season, but I'm considering having him and Rafinha just because of the value. People who are not considering him for the start of the season are probably going to want him or Rafinha game week 5. So they've got 6 really nice fixtures. Leeds are going to score a lot of goals then. To be honest, that fixture run alone is making me consider having both Harrison and Rafinha from game week 1. They're going to be very attacking this season. Like, there's no way Leeds are going to all of a sudden change from last season. They're going to get goals. And Jack Harrison really did kick on at the end of the season, which is worth noting. He was a bit slow at the beginning of the season, so it's always kind of good to come into form at the start of the season rather than taper out of towards the end of the season before. So yeah, definitely one to keep an eye on. And I think he's probably going to be quite a differential because most people will spend that extra 0.5 on Rafinha just because he looks like a flashier player. But the stats and the underlying numbers do favour Harrison a lot of the time. And he's £500,000 cheaper as well. James Maddison. So similar to Leeds with Rafinha and Harrison, you've kind of got Barnes, Maddison and Tielemans. All 3 of them have their potential. Now, in terms of points, Maddison just finished ahead of Barnes and just behind Tielemans, I think. 133 points, 7 million. So again, compared to the likes of Rafinha and Harrison, it kind of makes my argument for the Leeds players because Maddison's more expensive, but got 30 odd points less than the Leeds lads. 8 goals, 7 assists. But the one thing is, he was injured for a bit of the season. Only played 2,000 minutes. So if he can have an uninjured season, maybe stretch to that 3,000 minutes, he's a 200-point player. Just based on that average. So look, 133 points in 2,000 minutes is about 200 points in 3,000 minutes. So if he can play the whole season, you should be golden. Now, one thing to note with Maddison is towards the end of last season, he started getting on the score sheet, started getting a lot of assists before he was injured. He did have an interview where he said that he heard Jamie Carragher talking about his play and he's tried to become more attacking because of it. And since then, he really has. Like, he's involved a lot more in the attacks. His XG has gone up considerably in those games. So, yeah, from game week 6 to game week 16, Leicester players, potentially premium looking at that. Again, you don't want to fill your team full of £6 and £7 million players, but you do want to kind of rotate them in at the right times. And yeah, Maddison could be coming into my team around game week 6. Diogo Jota. So I know the first thing you look at is the fixtures and go, but Jota has easier fixtures at the start of the season. That is correct, but we still don't know if he's going to get in ahead of Firmino. Now, I've made my opinion quite clear on that. I think he probably will. But African Cup of Nations. So Mane and Mo Salah are going to be gone for a few game weeks. And I mean, Brentford, Palace, Leicester, Burnley, Norwich. Jota's probably going to be the main man there. He might be on penalties as well. Now, I definitely wouldn't bet on that, but there's always that chance. He'll be involved in a lot of the set pieces. So specific, if you're not considering Jota, by game week 22, you're probably going to have him for a few weeks. Personally, I'm considering having him at the start of the season. The only reason I won't have him at the start of the season, if I choose not to, just because the likes of the Harrisons, the Rafinhas, the Maddisons maybe are a bit more nailed on to play, whereas we're still not really sure if Jota's going to get ahead of Firmino. But 9 goals, 0 assists. What that means is he's always in the right position to score goals. So he's always in that 6-yard area. Like, he's never kind of cutting out wide to get in crosses. The guy wants to score. And for FPL, that's kind of key when you're putting midfielders into your team. He only played 1,100 minutes last season. So again, if we just stretch that out to a full season, he's pushing 250 points. Like, that's insane for a £7.5 million midfielder. Definitely one to watch. I was talking about him all last season. I'm sure a lot of you can remember. I had him in my team a lot of the times he scored those goals. And yeah, I'm almost certainly going to have him in my team for a lot of the season. It's just kind of work out where to fit him in. Riyad Mahrez. So, look, obviously all the standard T's and C's apply when it comes to Man City. Pep roulette means we can't really work out who's going to play and when, but Mahrez, he became one of their most important players at the end of last season. Sterling wasn't firing. Kevin De Bruyne was injured. Wasn't exactly getting as many points as usual. And Mahrez, like, he was being rested to play in like the Champions League final. Like, that's how important he was. Like, Pep wasn't kind of taking risks with him. And I just think at the beginning of the season, and also this nice fixture run there after game week 12, for 9 million, he's going to be worth a punt. Now, a lot of it does depend on whether or not Grealish comes into the team, because if Grealish comes in, I mean, Mahrez's minutes are going to be cut right down there, because that's just another world-class player that could potentially occupy a similar spot. So we'll keep an eye on it. But if Mahrez plays the first game or two, regardless of how well he does, I'll probably get him in. If he can land a permanent fixture in the team. And to be honest, he didn't get rotated that much last season. Playing almost 2,000 minutes for Pep Guardiola in a Premier League season, you've generally avoided the Pep roulette a lot of the time. And also, generally, if he doesn't start, he doesn't come on. So typically he starts or doesn't play. So that's actually quite important to know as an FPL manager, because the last thing you want is players coming on for 2 minutes and getting you 1 point. You want players to either start, get you the maximum, or don't come on at all so one of your subs can come on. So yeah, if he continues that way, he could be one to watch. He's someone that I really think could be one of the best players in the Premier League if he just got the time to play, and also if he just hit that bit of form. I just think he's absolutely phenomenal, and that season at Leicester is pretty much testament to that. So yeah, one to keep an eye on this season. Edinson Cavani. Manchester United have the most ridiculous run of fixtures from game week 14. Look at that. Like, everyone should have 3 United players there. For me, it's looking like I'll probably have like a Luke Shaw, a Sancho, a Cavani, maybe a Fernandes, if we can afford him. But yeah, Cavani, the thing about that is United don't have too many out-and-out strikers. Like Greenwood, he's still a bit young, kind of goes on the wing a lot of the time. Same with Martial. Not necessarily an out-and-out striker. He's usually just put on that wing. Now, I know United fans can probably tell me a lot more about him than I'll know. But, I mean, he got a really good run of minutes at the end of last season. He was scoring constantly. I mean, 100 points in 1,300 minutes for, again, someone that we didn't even know if he was going to play. Unbelievable with his head. Like, he's got seriously accurate finishing, like quite deadly there. Got 10 goals and 4 assists in those minutes. And for £8.5 million, if he can nail down that shirt week in, week out for United, he's got some midfield backing him up now. The only thing is, if he was on penalties, he would almost be a dead cert. I mean, those 10 goals none of them were penalties, because obviously Fernandes takes them. So, yeah, I'm probably not going to have him on game week 1, but game week 14, I probably would have at least 2 United players, and Cavani could be one of them. Callum Wilson, the most overlooked man in FPL right now, in my opinion. 12 goals and 6 assists last season. Now, I know his price has gone up considerably. What was he, 6 million last season? But looking at that start to the season, again, if we're looking at enablers to put money into the midfield, he's another one. 7.5 million. First 9 fixtures, there's going to be a few goals there. Only thing is, Newcastle, generally not that great. You almost feel watching them that they're just waiting to go down. Like, one season they're going to get relegated, and it's like you're just waiting for that to happen. They avoided it last season. It might be this season. Who knows? But yeah, if you're looking for that budget striker who could potentially get you a few goals, Callum Wilson got 18 attacking returns last season. Only played 2,000 minutes. So yeah, someone I'm definitely considering myself. Billy Gilmour, £4.5 million. He's an enabler in midfield. So if you're not playing 5 midfielders, so let's say you're going to have 4 really good midfielders and just a bench fodder, has to be Billy Gilmour. The more I look at the stats, the more I think I've got to go with Gilmour. And also I watched highlights of one of Norwich's friendlies the other day, and every time a defender gets the ball, they're looking to give it to Gilmour. He was pulling out wide. He was in the centre. He was trying to put the ball through for the striker. There's a chance he might get some attacking returns. So keep an eye on him for the first 4 game weeks if you're not going to get him in. And then from game week 5, if you need bench fodder, he's definitely someone who you don't need to play him, right? If you've got like a Riyad Mahrez in the team, as we've just said, Mahrez, a lot of the time, if he doesn't play, he doesn't come on. You're going to need a substitute to come on. A Billy Gilmour at 4.5 million, specifically game week 5 to 14, that's going to be the sort of player you want to come on. So yeah, out and out punt. But he's the cheapest midfielder in the game, and he's pretty much nailed on to play. So yeah, I expect him to. I mean, he's not going to get 200 points. I'd be fairly confident in that, but he could have a really good season for his price tag, and it wouldn't surprise me if he finished the season at 5.2, even more million. James Ward-Prowse. So, like, it's so hard to get him into your team, isn't it? Because a lot of his goals come from set pieces, and you just don't want to have a player in your team just for set pieces. But he did get some amount of goals and assists from those set pieces. 156 points, 6.5 million. Nailed on to play week in, week out. 3,420 minutes. It's not quite every minute of the season, but almost. So, yeah. It's something about him. It's similar to Danny Ings. I think I just don't want to get a Southampton player in my team. There's something about Southampton I don't particularly like. So, yeah, I'm probably not going to get him myself, but it won't surprise me if he gets another 150 point return. And at 6.5 million, that points per million that I'm always banging on about pretty much ticks that box. That's a really good return. So, yeah, keep an eye on him. Game week 8 to 12, 5 really nice fixtures there. Ones where you could see Southampton getting a lot of set pieces. And, yeah, maybe if we're kind of working when to rotate that budget midfielder, we've gone through quite a lot that kind of rotate nicely. So you might sub one out and bring one in, and maybe James Ward-Prowse might be that guy. Shock of the video, Dele Alli. So, like, the forgotten man, was he pushing 10 million at one season in this game? Absolute appalling attitude. You see it in the that Amazon documentary about Tottenham Hotspur. Like, the guy, like, he's an interesting lad, isn't he? But he's not getting any younger either. So look, one thing worth noting is when Mourinho gave him a chance last season, the first few games, he did perform really well. So hopefully if he gets a chance under the new manager, maybe he'll perform really well again. Now, the reason he's in this video is he's played the 3 friendlies that Tottenham have played this last week or two. He played all 3, scored twice. So he scored in the last 2 games. So 6.5 million. I mean, if he cements his place in the team, it's all on that. If he doesn't cement his place in the team, well, then he's not going to be in your team anyway. But if he manages to play 30 games in a season and Tottenham keep Harry Kane, he's going to have a good season. And at 6.5 million, he's probably not going to keep up with Son or Kane, but he could easily have a 150 point plus season. So, yeah, definitely one to keep an eye out for. If he can hit the form he had a few seasons ago, who knows? Like, this really is an absolute punt. But based on the friendlies, it's not that big a punt because he's playing every single friendly. So, I mean, he's not going to, as a new manager, you're not going to play players you've no interest in starting the season in such a short window to kind of play them. So I'd be confident he's going to start the season. And, yeah, you might not want him in game week 1, but if he nails his spot in the team, another one you can kind of rotate in and out with some of the other lads we spoke about in this video. Right, we're almost there. Ismaila Sarr. So, wasn't in the Premier League last season. Did get 13 goals, 10 assists. Now, he did play in the Premier League the year before, and I don't know if anyone can remember, he was electric. Really exciting player to watch. So, £6 million midfielder, game week 1. If you've only got £6 million, your options are like the likes of Souček, another one you might consider. But I really like Sarr's fixtures like that. Those first 7 game weeks, Watford are going to score some goals. He's probably going to be involved in them. So that alone is enough to potentially consider him. That's really all I've got to say. I didn't really watch him at all last season. Antonio, obvious one, not much to say. When fit, one of the best players in the Premier League last season, the season before. He's phenomenal, so strong, but he's just so injury prone. Like he never has a season without a long spell on the sidelines. Now, last season, he actually did play a lot more minutes, so almost 2,000 minutes. That's pretty much 2/3 of the season. 10 goals, 5 assists, pretty decent. And we're probably going to want a West Ham player from game week 18. Why not Antonio? 7.5 million. Again, another budget striker that enables you to put funds everywhere else. And he's one I'll probably end up getting. I really like Antonio. He's such a good player. He works really hard. He's got awful finishing, though. I remember there was a game last season. He could have scored 6 or 7 goals. I think he maybe scored 1. He missed 3 open goals in the game. I can't remember the opponent, but yeah, his accuracy leaves a lot to be desired, but he's always there, so he's going to get some goals just by the fact that he's always in the right positions. Finally, Conor Coady. can you believe we've been speaking for half an hour and we're going to end the video talking about Conor Coady? So Wolves had a terrible season last season, still got 10 clean sheets, 4.5 million. So look, a lot of the Wolves players in the defensive roles of £5 million. He's nailed on to play every week. He's never going to get you goals. I don't know how he managed to get that goal there last season. I can't remember when it was. I assume it was a header from a corner. But he barely leaves his own half. So look, he's going to get you a maximum of a clean sheet. But if Wolves have an okay start to the season, game week 4 to 14, he's going in my team. 4.5 million. There's no way. I'm only going to have 3 decent defenders. I'm probably going to double up on Liverpool and maybe a City defender or a Luca Digne. I'm going to have a £4.5 million defender in there somewhere. From game week 4, I don't see why it wouldn't be him because, yeah, look, Wolves, they can't really play any worse than they did last season defensively. They were all over the place. They've got Jimenez back. Obviously going to have the new manager. I just think there's all the potential in the world for Wolves this season. And yeah, from game week 4, a defender almost has to go in. Whew. Take a breath. That is that. Shot in one take, no notes. Let me know what you think about all that. If you've watched to the end, congrats. That was a long old slog, but we got through it together. Maybe if someone wants to timestamp when each team comes on the screen and put it in the comments, I'll pin it so that people don't have to watch the whole video if they don't want. But yeah, let me know what you think. I think there's a lot of potential in the players we've covered. Is there anyone I've missed out? Anyone that you think should be worth keeping an eye on that people are probably overlooking? Do drop it in the comments. And yeah, hope you enjoyed that. Took a long time to put together. So yeah, we'll see you in the next day or two for the next video. Take it easy, guys.